Good morning. Today is Saturday. It is the 10th of January, and we are out here. It is a wee bit colder today than it has been. You notice I'm dressed a little bit warmly. It's probably hovering in the late upper 20s, but there's a lot of wind today too, so that's going to factor in. And we're doing an ongoing session of our infrasound recording project today. We're going in to see if there's any evidence of that pulsation sound we heard the one time, and we'll take things from there. And beyond that, we don't really have an agenda today. We've been kind of stuck in this mode to see if we could follow it through to the end, and we'll see if we do or not. And if we don't, then we will next week start moving towards other avenues of research. But it is there today to be. We have had consistent readings here, but it's a very windy day today in my own research of natural recording or naturally occurring sources for this are that wind can carry some infrasound. So we do expect to have some, but we expect that to be a certain amount of the reason why. It's if we get different readings that are breaking of the pattern we've had so far that we start to take notice. But as we film throughout the day today, we will cover these things. So let's get moving, and we'll see what we got today. Okay, we're back. We're probably 100 feet from where we did our intro. And no pulsation, but we have, with the wind, we're not surprised by this, but we actually already have some infrasound. I'm going to let it passively record today. I'm not going to read out signal because the app, like I said, I have one recording and one doing a log that monitors the hertz levels and all that. And I'm expecting conditions similar to last week because of the wind, where you're going to have on and off readings that are in the mid to high level due to the fact that wind does bring with it some infrasound, and it is a fairly windy day in here. I also didn't bring the drone because I have a rule of thumb, which is if you can hear the wind at a distance, it's too windy to fly the drone. So with that being the case, we are... If you listen, you can hear the wind. It is. I think the wind was projected today to be like north of 20 miles an hour. So it's. I have better things to do in my afternoon than try to retrieve the drone from a tree or some such. So we're not going to do that. But we're going to do, like I said, a passive recording session today. We're going to walk through a lot of the same area for. This will be a month straight. We've been doing 3 weeks. I take that back, 3 weeks. And I had told myself we'll do 3 weeks to a month of recording, and before we start to move on to other things, if there's no closure on what the source is. I mean, some of it is naturally occurring. I've had EMF readings in here and EF readings, and if you look around, you can see it's a fairly rocky area. My gut feeling is that a lot of the EMF stuff is some magnetic property in the actual... in the rocks. And I have to be a little bit conscious of widowmakers. I just heard a pop sound in the trees, so I gotta be aware of that. That may affect my length of stay too. Like I said, with high winds, this is an area where you could potentially need to be aware of widowmakers and the like. Yeah, I'm kind of satisfied with the explanations for EMF readings. The one time, I've said this in 3 videos now, including this one, that when I got the pulse sound, you count 3, you get a spike of all 3 categories. And the thing that was fun was the numbers were consistent. They were like roughly the same each time. So it was not a random occurrence. The question is you got to encounter it again. It only happened those 2 days, so far anyway. But it's also something to keep an ear out for. So we're going to take a session break at this point and walk through and do some passive recording. That's mainly I'm going to call it a tricorder run, because I basically look like a dude with a tricorder going through here. as I do this. But that's going to be the agenda for most of the day, and we'll see what we find. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. We're back, and just for a quick update. One, readings are pretty much on par with what we had last week. In spite of the wind, they're between 4 and 15 hertz levels, and they're intermittent. They're not chronically going all at once. They're on and off, which means that we're establishing a baseline of the norms here for that, which is good, because going forward when I'm in this area and other areas, it gives me kind of a baseline to understand what normal levels of background noise infrasound are, as opposed to the pulse, which was definitely an anomaly. You just need to have it happen again. What I did hear off in the distance was somebody shooting, which suggests a hunter. And the thing I would make the observation of is when I drive through, I drive to the trailhead that's probably a little over 1.5 miles from here, and there was nobody there. That's like the only other way into the backside of this area, at least on the Connecticut side. And it is legal this time of year to hunt coyote, provided you're on the right land and have the paperwork and all that. So it's either that or you got poachers out here doing stupid stuff. But I didn't wear orange, but it's because it's January, and frankly, although the one time I did run into coyote hunters out here for a brief story time, they left the area abruptly when I was curious what they were doing, and they left. So I can only assume they were actually poaching, because when I asked them, they got very paranoid. I can read body language, and it makes a case for knowing your surroundings. I mean, you'll notice I kind of look back in front every now and then just to be aware of things around me. And that brings a non-Bigfoot related story time from last week. When I was on my way up here last week, I was at the gas station, and I was at the gas pump, and I had an unusual encounter with what I believe to be a Jehovah's Witness. And I want to make the disclaimer that this is not in any way a shot at Jehovah's Witnesses. The fact that he was of a particular faith or group has nothing to do with the point I'm going to make here. I was pumping gas, and when you're in the zone of doing that, your knowledge of your surroundings is kind of impaired by the fact that you're occupied with a task in front of you. And out of the corner of my eye, this guy pulls up in a white pickup truck and immediately gets out of his car and starts walking towards me from my blind spot. Anyone with a martial arts background kind of knows what I'm talking about. There's a spot that is over your shoulder and kind of 45 degrees past that, where you can't see good with your peripheral vision. And it was something, because I do have some martial arts training, that my hackles went up immediately, and my first thought was, who is brazenly obvious enough in broad daylight to rob me? But that's my point, was that my impression was, I'm about to get robbed. And in spite of the fact I'm dressed like a hunter and pretty much look like I may be armed, this guy came up to me. And then out come what I think are Watchtower pamphlets, and it just struck me as really kind of creepy and odd. No offense to Jehovah's Witnesses, you're the guy. Your guy is the guy that was there, so you get to be the example to make the point. This is not a shot at you, but when you have somebody occupied with a task like pumping gas or something like that, this is not the time to spread the word or try to sell raffle tickets to the kids' softball league or something like this. I mean, I'll throw that in there just for the sake of fairness. Because, no offense to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but the guy's approach came across as creepy and weird. And I did actually kind of throw this out to the people I work with and some others and kind of get their feel for it. And everybody was pretty much on par with, this was creepy and weird. And one or two of those people were actually Jehovah's Witnesses. one of them said, I am a Jehovah's Witness, and yes, this was probably not the way to do that. I mean, we know that you guys on a Saturday morning come and knock on the door, and if you do that, we know what you're doing. This is like you're approaching somebody basically in a position of relative vulnerability. Now, I'm just going to make the point that if it was a little bit darker out and you approached a female at the pump and she turned around and pepper sprayed you in the eyes, you have zero sympathy from me because you put her in that state of paranoia, doing something you should not have. But that is why you should have some knowledge of your surroundings at all times, because weird shit like that happens. And in my defense, when in my opinion, I politely rebuffed him and said, no thanks, man, I'm good. He gave me the strangest look when he did, and then he hopped in his car and basically fled the entire scene, leaving me wondering what the hell was that all about. If he was legitimately just an overzealous Jehovah's Witness, and he's listening to my channel by some random chance of fate, my advice to you going forward is, I don't think this is the message that your faith wants to put out there, because it gave me the creeps. And again, it's no reflection on them. This is just, it's not the what you are, it's the how you went about doing what you did. I would advise you to modify your methods significantly, because that was creepy. That is the end of my rant. I'm going to take a segment break, and I am going to continue to monitor infrasound. But as of right now, it's kind of mimicking what I had last week. We will be back. Thank you for listening. Okay, we are back. We went into a different area today and found some interesting terrain. Other than that, it's a windy day out in the woods. There's not really a lot going on. The pulse. Okay, the camera is acting up. I don't know if it likes the cold. It's not that cold. It's windy, making the wind chill, but that shouldn't factor into hardware failures. Anyway, windy day out in the woods. The pulsation sound is, I guess, not going to make an appearance. We do, however, have a long weekend due to MLK Day, so I may be out another day this week just to follow up. But today it's a quiet day in the woods, minus the wind. We have infrasound readings. They are on par with what I had last week. So again, the purpose was served today of getting a baseline of what background noise normal is in here. And we're going to probably wrap this one up here. So the typically obnoxious YouTuber, like, subscribe if you feel so moved. Leave comments if you have commentary to offer, good, bad, or indifferent. And we will catch you the next time. That's about all we got for today. So thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed your stay. Bye.